In today's video, I show you some 3D printable terrain from Forbidden Prints and Terrainify. But before we get into today's video, just want to give a quick shout out to all of my lovely Patreon supporters. I love you guys so much. You make this channel what it is. And I want to announce this past month's GGGGs. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts. And for this past month of January of 2025, Jason S. is receiving my copy of the Nemesis Lockdown Kickstarter edition. And Enigma Hobbies is receiving $100 to go towards the R9 lamp. For this month of February of 2025, we have my Kickstarter copy of Cthulhu Death May Die. Go ahead and check out my unboxing video as I just received this package. An all-in pledge for the Stage Top 2 Kickstarter. 2 pledges for Curse of the Citadel Great Hall, which is going to be launching on My Mini Factory Frontiers soon. Go ahead and use the link below to go to my Patreon page where you can get in on that. It only takes $1 to become a Patreon member where you can get a chance to be picked by Bob. So I've done a couple of review videos for Forbidden Prints, but I went ahead and purchased these files. Now, if you are a Tribes member of Forbidden Prints on My Mini Factory, then I think you receive these files for free. But I did purchase them during the holiday sale. It was 50% off. So I did go ahead and pick up the Blackthorn set, which is all of these ruins that you see before you, and also the Crater set. Now, I think the Blackthorn set is around $28 US, and then the Crater set is $10. And again, with the holiday sale, I was able to get that for half off. The reason I picked this set is because I need to have a lot of terrain. One of my Patreon supporters and I are running the tournament for one-page rules at Adepticon this year. If you are interested, make sure to sign up. There's plenty of spots available for that event. But need to come up with a lot of terrain for all of the tables that are going to be at the tournament. So was looking around, even though I do have currently a lot of terrain, I don't have enough to field all the tables. So this set really caught my eye because it has multiple levels and is a little bit modular. So I just feel like it's perfect for games like Grimdark Future, Firefight, or it can also be fantasy themed. So it can go either way, as there aren't any sci-fi things that are on this set of 3D files. I also prefer ruined buildings over completely intact buildings because intact buildings are basically just blocking line of sight. Whereas with ruined buildings, you can actually interact with it. You can climb up on it. You can shoot and get line of sight. So this is the perfect kind of terrain that I prefer whenever I play my skirmish or war games, and so this set is perfect. I went ahead and actually printed out a full set so you see all of the different files that you can get here. And as I mentioned before, it is modular. So here I can give you an example. The bottom part does have different features. So this one has a door and other ones have windows. This one's solid. So just printed out a variety, but the bottom part is sort of the same. And then you can modularly put on top different options as well. So with this one, I just capped it off with a platform so that people could stand up there. And then you can see and have a little bit of cover as you're firing from height. The option for this one, I went ahead and went 2 different levels. So again, this just provides a little bit more height. So a lot of different modular options that you can create with these files. And this is just an example of what a build out can look like. Obviously, you're not going to cram this much terrain all in one space, but this is pretty much enough for a 4x6 table spread out, providing enough cover. And if you want more, obviously you can just print out more as needed. Also, I needed some difficult terrain as well as dangerous terrain. So I think these craters I'm going to have as dangerous terrain. And then here are the stepped hills from Terrainify. I did a review video for them a couple of years back. Go ahead and check it out here if you want. But I knew I wanted some hills that count as difficult terrain. Now, these files are meant to be printed multi-part. And this is a piece, a larger piece that they actually painted and flocked and sent it to me, which is an option that they can do that for you. But I went ahead and printed out these files, just shrinking them down so that the complete file can fit on my build plate. So it is smaller than this piece here. Whenever you glue pieces together, you do have seam lines that you need to cover up. Here, obviously, they didn't need to cover it up because they have flocking on it that's covering the seam line. I didn't want to have to cover the seam line just because I have so many pieces that I need to print out. So I went ahead and just shrunk them down so that it did fit on my build plate. But otherwise, I think combined, this is going to be exactly what is needed for the tournament so that people have opportunities to climb up ladders, to have height, to shoot down, to have different kinds of terrain on the board. So I think this is really a fantastic set if you are into either sci-fi or fantasy wargaming. I do have a painting tutorial at the end of the video, so if you're interested, go ahead and stick around. Although I used a similar painting technique for my castle, go ahead and check out that video here if you want to see more detailed painting tutorial, because this is going to be super quick, and I just love the fact that you can subtly put in different colors rather than just straight gray into your castle walls or buildings. So that's sort of my new favorite technique that I have been using. And then regarding these stepped plateaus, I did go ahead and decide just to paint on the green on top rather than flocking. Again, that's just to save more time. And whenever I do flocking, it tends to just flake off and fall off eventually. So just painting it on there, again, just makes it a little bit simpler. I do have my Sisters of Battle on the battlefield just so that you can see scale, but I think it works super well. And the height of each one of these is 3 inches. And then it does come with ladders. I do note during my painting tutorial, I did modify the taller ladders, just added one more section because it wasn't quite tall enough to go from the ground all the way up to the top level. Otherwise, you can use these half-height ladders as well. And then I love that it comes with these platforms that you can span across. So again, that just creates more variability and options for you. Relatively short video. Hit the like button and subscribe, as I'm going to be coming out with more 3D printable terrain videos along with some review videos. And again, if you are interested in checking out one-page rules, go ahead and sign up at the Adepticon website. Use the link below and want to get the momentum of spreading out one-page rules, which I think is one of the best rule sets and was my favorite wargaming rule set from last year. Go ahead and check out that video here. Stick around for the painting tutorial, which is very, very quick. Otherwise, happy gaming. We'll see you next time. All right, like most of my terrain, I am spraying it primer first with this brown from Krylon camouflage. And it's literally just called brown. The reason why I like camouflage is because it's super flat or matte and relatively cheap. I think this is like $4 for this can. And basically just spray all, and I do print in black PLA because in the spots that I miss, it is dark, it's black. So I don't like printing out in light PLA just because any misses is fine, and I'd rather it be dark than light for shading or shadowing. So just spray everything this dark brown. I have in the past sprayed with a dark gray instead for stone, but I think I like the warmer color that's going to be in the shadows with the brown so that it's a contrast with the cold colors of the gray. So that's why I choose. But you can make your base anything that you want. If you want to go with the dark gray, that's fine too. And then I chose these 3 paint colors. You can sort of choose whatever you want, but this just mixes up the base a little bit so that it isn't such a clean gray color. Again, that's going to be super fast to do it that way, but this just adds a little bit of color, which I think provides some variability. But this is totally optional. You don't have to pick 3 either. You could just pick 1 or 2 if you wanted. Okay, I know I said I was going to do purple, but actually I'm just going to stick with the green and the red because I'm running out of time. I have to get these done, and I think this will be fine. I probably covered the area too much because if I was to add another third color, I would just basically cover over all of the brown underneath, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to just call this good enough. All right, now I'm grabbing zinc and my biggest brush here. This is Hog's Hair brushes. Go ahead and check out the Amazon link below if you want to grab some of these. They're relatively cheap for a set of them. So you want this gray to actually cover quite a bit of area. So I'm coming at it from all directions, both up and down. Whereas later on when we do the lighter gray, we're just going to go one direction, just go down. But right now we want to have quite a bit of coverage with this zinc. So you can be pretty liberal with it. And see how I'm coming at it at all directions, up and down, sideways, so that I get good coverage. But you'll notice that there's still areas that the dark brown is still present for all of the shading, like in the corners and things like that. So that's why I like the dark brown undercoating, because it gives that right amount of darkness. Yeah, some people use black. I think black is a little bit too dark. It gives too much of a contrast, so that's why I go for this color instead. But this is sort of what you're shooting for. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and grab some slate gray, which is a lighter gray. It isn't the lightest gray that I have, but it is going to be pretty light compared to the zinc. And you want to be super careful of how much you have because this is your final highlight. So you want to make sure that your brush is pretty dry. And like I mentioned before, you're just going to drag it down rather than all over. You're just going to pick up the top highlights, like so. So this step is relatively quick as compared to the other ones. Just do it all over where you get just the edges picked up. As comparison, because sometimes it's hard to see, this is unpainted, highlighted, and then this one is. So this gives you a sense of the difference. But because you're only putting a little bit on, a little bit of paint goes a long way. I apologize, I actually did the wood. I did milk chocolate, which is my go-to for wood, and I just dry brushed all of the wood pieces. And then for the ropes, I used honey brown. It's a little bit lighter. I did modify these long ones. I actually added another section to it because for the ones that are 2 levels tall, the one that came with it actually didn't reach the top one. It was just a little bit short, so I actually merged this file onto here so that it would actually reach the top level on these pieces that are 2 levels high. Alright, because I want it to be a different color from the wood, I am grabbing some sable brown and just really quickly dry brushing all of these craters. Pretty quick and easy. Because there's so much texture here. So these craters look pretty good as is, but I like to give it a little bit more highlight. So I'm gonna take some fawn or any kind of light beige color. And you don't need a lot of this because you're just hitting the outer edge like this. And it just gives it just a little bit more depth and color. And the inside is dark. Makes it look more like a crater, like this. And you're doing the same for the edges of these rocks. Just really light. Don't want to overpower it with the highlight. That's it. Alright, I am grabbing some forest green. And for the most part I use this big brush for most of this, but there are some spots here that I cannot reach with that bigger brush. So I'm using the smaller one just to hit these spots. Like that. Grabbing some lighter green, festive green is what I have. Went back to my big brush and just randomly splotching things around. You know, it's super rare for grass or other surfaces to be completely uniform, in nature in particular. So just being somewhat random with spots of color will make it look more realistic. And there is just a lot of different texture on these, which I love. Alright, I added a little bit of the cellar green, although you could add white to lighten it up just a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm grabbing this original green and a little bit of this just to lighten it up just a little bit. Again, you can use white if you want. And then I'm just sort of, again, just randomly highlighting here and there, just to make it, you know, splotchy and inconsistent, like you would see in a real field of grass. So yeah, I think that looks good.